Your person was involved with someone else, but now they are carrying a message they never had the courage to speak before. Take a slow breath before continuing, not because this is fate, not because this is destiny, but because some truths require stillness to be understood. If one person has been on your mind more than usual, if their presence returns quietly when you least expect it, this is not random. It is not imagination. It is not weakness. It is the result of unfinished understanding. Your person did walk another path. That truth cannot be softened. They chose someone else. But what they are beginning to realize now is deeper than distance, silence, or betrayal. This realization does not arrive with messages or apologies. It arrives when they are alone with their thoughts. When distractions fail. When noise no longer works. They are finally facing what they ran from. You always sensed something was unresolved. Even when they smiled. Even when they said they were fine. Even when they tried to convince themselves that their decision was logical and final. You felt it in the pauses between conversations. You felt it in the way distance appeared without explanation. You felt it in the silence that followed. They did not leave because they stopped caring. They left because they did not know how to handle what they felt. Choosing someone else was not about replacing you. It was about escaping the intensity of the connection. They believed that walking another path would quiet their emotions. They believed it would make things simpler. They were wrong. What they felt with you was not shallow. It was not casual. It required courage. It required honesty. It required growth. Instead of facing that depth, they chose comfort. They chose something predictable. They chose something that demanded less from them. But no matter where they went, your presence followed. They compared conversations. They compared laughter. They compared silence. And every comparison led back to the same truth. What they shared with you could not be recreated. Now the weight of that choice has begun to settle. There are moments when their mind becomes heavy, late at night, in quiet rooms, in stillness. That is when guilt appears, not loudly, but steadily. They replay moments, conversations, decisions, not to punish themselves, but to understand. And the understanding is unavoidable. They hurt someone who offered them honesty. They walked away from something rare. They chose comfort over truth. They stayed silent because they did not trust themselves. They were afraid that if they spoke honestly, they would not be able to turn back. They were afraid of making promises they were not strong enough to keep. They were afraid of facing your clarity. You see through words. You sense truth even when it is unspoken. They knew that once they opened that door, there would be no hiding. So they stayed silent. But silence has consequences. Something has shifted inside them recently. Not necessarily in a dramatic way, but in a quiet, undeniable way. They realized that the path they chose did not fulfill them. They felt unseen, unheard, disconnected. And in that emptiness, your presence returned. Not as memory, but as contrast. They finally understood that what they felt with you was not chaos. It was truth. And truth does not disappear just because it is ignored. If they could speak without fear, without pride, without excuses, this is what they would admit. I thought choosing someone else would make things easier. I was wrong. Walking away from you felt like walking away from myself. I hurt you because I was afraid of how much you mattered. You were never the problem. These words may not have reached you yet, but they exist within them. They feel your distance now. They sense that you are no longer waiting. They sense that you are no longer questioning your worth. They sense that you are choosing yourself, and that awareness forces them to confront what they lost. They are not only questioning their decision, they are questioning who they became when they made it. Losing you changed them. This message is not asking you to wait. It is not asking you to forgive. It is not asking you to reopen wounds. It is clarity. You were not abandoned because you lacked value. You were walked away from because you reflected a depth they were not ready to face. That truth matters. If they return, you will respond from strength, not longing. And if they do not, you will continue forward with your dignity intact. Because you were never meant to beg for clarity. You were meant to receive it. Welcome to the Stoic Brotherhood.